Hi, it's Katrina. Get ready to have your perception of history completely flipped. We are exploring ancient technology so unbelievably advanced, it feels like pure science fiction. A secret submarine was found buried under 3,000 years of dirt, while ancient manuscripts are revealing shocking advanced medical knowledge of the Egyptians. But what I'm really excited to talk to you about today is ancient anti-gravity technology. Let's dive in and uncover the incredible ingenuity of the past. The Ancient Submarine. Could this be real? Most of the time when we're talking about ancient archaeology, we're talking about pyramids and pottery. But this time, something crazy has come out of the Siberian wilderness. Rumors of a 3,000-year-old submarine. Yes, you heard that correctly. A submarine potentially predating the Roman Empire. Could this be the ultimate evidence of a lost, technologically advanced society? A civilization that mastered underwater travel thousands of years ago? Or is this just an elaborate hoax? Let's try and figure it out. A potential ancient submarine discovery demands our immediate attention. The thought of a submersible vessel navigating the depths 3,000 years ago is nothing short of revolutionary. What would this vessel look like? What would it be made out of? How could ancient people make something that glided beneath the waves during the Bronze Age? This isn't just about finding an old artifact. It's about potentially uncovering an entirely lost chapter of human knowledge, a technological leap that seemingly vanished without a trace. This is crazy. But of course, the details surrounding this discovery are very scarce, and the only thing I could find was people talking about it online, but there wasn't really a credible source. I think it's more of an urban myth at this point. The images I could find online look very AI, or are actually sunken ships and military equipment that have just been underwater for a long time, but not necessarily 3,000 years. Weird things have been found in Siberia, but so far, no submarine. There are, however, some natural formations that could kind of be interpreted as submarines, but that's more using your imagination at this point. I think the fun part about this is the potential what if. What if ancient people had submarines? It would make for a great sci-fi adventure, that's for sure. Let's be honest, the idea of a 3,000-year-old submarine sounds like something straight out of a Jules Verne novel. Ultimately, the mystery of the Siberian submarine remains unsolved. But just because there isn't a submarine in Siberia doesn't mean that ancient people were dumb. Stay tuned because I'm going to show you some ancient tech that will show you just how advanced our ancient ancestors really were. Secrets hidden in a stone circle. There is something very strange going on here. There might be a stone circle in Israel that wasn't just a calendar. It was an ancient power station. Wait, what? For decades, Rujum El Hiri, the sprawling stone circle complex in the Golan Heights, has been shrouded in mystery. Long considered an ancient astronomical observatory, new research is making this site even more confusing. Nicknamed the Israeli Stonehenge, it spans an immense 525 feet in diameter, with massive concentric stone rings forming a sort of labyrinth. The scale and precision of its construction suggests an advanced understanding of engineering and geometry. To build this place, workers had to move over 40,000 tons of basalt rock, a feat difficult to achieve even with modern machinery. I don't know if you've ever dug a ditch, but it's not easy work. Moving 40,000 tons of rock at a time when shovels were a luxury item is crazy. And keep in mind that this was built around 2,500 and 3,500 BC. Remember the recent Giza pyramid scans? Researchers here have been doing their own studies. Recent geomagnetic studies and satellite imaging have shown that the world has shifted slightly over the last 3,000 years, obviously, and now the stone circle isn't aligned with the stars in the sky. Of course, that's normal because of tectonic shifts and what have you, but some believe the site was meant to move on purpose. I'm not sure how, but that's what I've heard anyway. Advanced imaging has also revealed subsurface anomalies under the structure, raising questions about what might be hidden below. There might be underground chambers or some buried technological infrastructure. One of the most compelling theories is that Rujum El Hiri was part of a global energy network used by ancient civilizations. The site's radial walls and central burial chamber bear striking similarities to other mysterious megalithic sites around the world, such as Göbekli Tepe, Nabta Playa, and even the stone circles of Great Zimbabwe. Some alternative researchers propose that these structures were more than ceremonial. They may have functioned as power stations, harnessing telluric currents or atmospheric energy. I don't know. The presence of massive basalt stones, known for their magnetic properties, further fuels speculation that the site was designed to channel or amplify natural energies. Was Regime El Hiri a point in an ancient global system, transmitting energy or information in ways that modern scientists are only beginning to rediscover? Mainstream archaeology insists that Bronze Age societies lacked the tools and knowledge to build such complex structures with precise alignments and massive stone placements. But sites like Regime El Hiri continue to challenge these assumptions. Are we looking at the remnants of an advanced ancient civilization? Or is this just another misunderstood monument? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But first, let's take a quick break because I want to give a big thank you to Gerard Cormican for the super thanks. It really means a lot, and we wouldn't be here without you. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe to join the Origins Explained family. The reptilian alien race. Why are we so obsessed with aliens? Why do some people think that an advanced reptilian race has lived among us for thousands of years, even helped us advance as a species? This isn't a new theory by any means. Many ancient cultures honored and revered serpents, lizards, and other strange reptilians. The question is, why? Why did cultures around the world who had never met all believe in the power of reptilian gods? Are they still with us? Let me tell you about some strange ancient coincidences, starting with Mesoamerica. The Maya and later the Aztec worshipped Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent gods who were believed to be the creators of mankind. They were basically flying lizard overlords who taught people stuff like agriculture and astronomy. Now moving on to Hindu mythology. Ever heard of the Nagas? These semi-divine snake people are said to live in a hidden underground city called Patala, which, depending on who you ask, is either a mystical realm or a subway station for lizard commuters. In India, a place called the Well of Shashna is rumored to be an entrance to an underground city of reptilian beings. In Native American lore, the Hopi people tell stories of an ancient race of lizard people who built an underground city beneath Los Angeles 5,000 years ago. LA traffic must have been bad even back then. The LA lizard people built a tunnel system using advanced rock melting technology. They were able to bore into the earth by melting rock like you would melt butter with a hairdryer. Could this be how other ancient civilizations constructed underground cities like Derinkuyu or the Longyu Caves in China? What's amazing is that the Nagas and the Hopi's reptilian friends both retreated underground into vast, dark cities. And if the rumors are true, they are still under there right now. The Bible's book of Genesis also kicks off with a serpent right at the beginning of humanity who changes everything for us. Ancient alien enthusiasts argue that this wasn't just a snake, but a reptilian being, the same entity as Kukulkan from Mesoamerica. In Iraq, strange lizard-headed figurines have been uncovered from the Ubaid culture dating back 7,000 years. It's still not clear what these figurines are supposed to be. Are they gods? Aliens? The theory today is that this reptilian race has been on Earth for millennia and may have been misinterpreted as gods, mythical creatures like dragons or serpent deities, or other supernatural entities in ancient cultures. It's thanks to them that we've gotten this far, and the even more dramatic twist is that these reptilians secretly manipulate human society, governments, financial institutions, and other centers of power to further their own agenda. This often involves a global conspiracy. You might be sitting next to one right now and not even know it. A reptilian in disguise wearing a human suit. Don't look! It might be onto you! The City of Gladiators. What's the one piece of modern technology you absolutely couldn't live without? If you said your phone or the internet, I agree, for obvious reasons. But there may be some things that are even more critical, such as running water and working toilets. Sewer systems aren't very romantic, but they are very much a part of our life. The Romans knew it, and they took it to the next level. Now that's advanced engineering, if you ask me. The City of Gladiators sounds like the final destination in some epic fantasy game where you have to compete in grueling gladiatorial combat. In reality, the City of Gladiators is an ancient ruin where Roman technology is still functioning after 2,250 years without maintenance. The Romans were great at a lot of things, especially plumbing. In the ancient city of Stratonikia, also known as the City of Gladiators, archaeologists recently uncovered something that would make any modern plumber question their training. They found a sewage system that still works. The Romans built a drainage system so efficient that it is still handling business 2,000 years later. Let that sink in for a minute. The Romans knew about sanitation and health. They invested heavily in public works like aqueducts to bring in fresh water and sophisticated sewage systems to carry waste away. But then, in the Middle Ages, 1,000 years later, people went backwards. How that happened is a conversation for another day, but you get my point, right? During excavations in Mughal, Turkey, archaeologists discovered an ancient sewer system under the city's theater, with pipes big enough for a person to walk through. The Romans were building sewer cathedrals, enormous areas to make sure water and waste could travel through. Professor Dr. Bilal Sogut, leading the excavation team, was understandably thrilled. He told reporters that water is still flowing away by itself even after 2,250 years. That's why we are incredibly happy. These things were built to last. According to Sogut, the system was designed to keep the city clean and functional without creating a stink, literally. The sewage network connected directly to the streets, channeling water towards a nearby stream without disrupting daily life. It's something that modern city infrastructure often struggles with. And unlike today's urban drainage, it hasn't required a single billion-dollar renovation project. Roman sewage might not be the most awe-inspiring ancient tech, but it is ancient tech that works so well, it seems too good to be true. Laser technology in Peru? Trekking high into the Andes, 45 miles west of La Paz, Bolivia, is something every adventurer should put on their bucket list. Just make sure you're in good shape because up here the air is thin, and you might be shocked by the scenery. You are near the place where the Inca creator god rose from Lake Titicaca to create the sun and the moon and bring stars to light the world. Even before the Inca was the Tiwanaku civilization. They built cities and temples so advanced, even the Inca were impressed. Pumapunku was one of their most mysterious places. This site is famous for its massive stones that look like they were cut with lasers. Many blocks have perfectly straight edges, sharp right angles, and surfaces that are almost polished smooth. These rocks are so incredible. They have conspiracy theorists, archaeologists, researchers, and armchair historians battling it out on Reddit. Pumapunku has some of the largest stone blocks found at any ancient site in the Americas, which, as you know, is saying something. Some of the blocks are red sandstone, but others are andesite, which is an extremely hard volcanic rock. Some of these bad boys are up to 26 feet long and weigh over 130 tons. That's like stacking 50 SUVs on top of each other, and ancient people built it without power tools or cranes. Somehow, these ancient people dragged blocks from up to 55 miles away and placed them on top of each other with such precision that you can't even slip a piece of paper between them. Some of the blocks even have perfectly drilled holes, which are difficult to explain since we don't really know any ancient drilling techniques. Most of the blocks don't even have tool marks on them. So how did the Tiwanaku get such precise shapes and cuts with just copper or stone tools? Mainstream archaeologists say they did it. Somehow, they used the tools available to them to cut perfectly straight lines and lift and carry massive stone blocks miles and miles and then lift these blocks and put them in place. W.H. Isbell, an anthropology professor from Binghamton University, helped date Pumapunku's construction to around 1,510 years ago, give or take a few decades. But here's where things get challenging. She says the Tiwanaku carried the stones, then transported them to Pumapunku on wooden rollers. Cool, but where did they get the wood? Pumapunku sits at an altitude of 12,800 feet above sea level, way above the tree line. There are no trees here, no logs, no easy way to move the stone behemoths. Unless we get a clear 3D rendering, it's hard for people to see how they did it, unless there was more sophisticated technology at play. Enter the ancient astronaut theorists. They argue that Pumapunku is Exhibit A for lost advanced technology. Maybe power tools, maybe laser cutters, Maybe aliens who got bored and decided to leave behind architectural Easter eggs. And it's not just the construction that's puzzling. The site features intricate right angles, perfect drill holes, and even stones that appear to be slotted together like some intergalactic IKEA project. But wait, there's more! You should know by now there is always more on Origins Explained. Just a stone's throw away from Pumapunku is Tiwanaku, once home to over 40,000 people and considered one of the greatest pre-Columbian civilizations that nobody really talks about. In 1549, Spanish conquistadors stumbled upon its ruins and were as baffled as scientists are today. One of Tiwanaku's most mind-blowing finds is the subterranean temple, where hundreds of carved stone heads are embedded in the walls. Each has distinct features from around the world. Some appear to have African, Asian, and even European characteristics. And then there are two heads that look suspiciously like classic gray aliens. At least that's what they say. Somehow a temple in Bolivia is like Disney's Epcot of the ancient world with a fun assortment of all the different people. So when you really dig into Tiwanaku, especially Pumapunku, you can't help but feel like there's a big chunk of the story we're still missing. We see these incredible, almost impossibly precise stones, moved and shaped in ways that challenge what we think ancient people were capable of. It makes you wonder, were the Tiwanaku even more advanced than we give them credit for? Or is there some other factor at play that we haven't quite figured out yet? It's that lingering, how did they really do that keeps the mystery of Tiwanaku alive and kicking. Prophecies you can count on. How would you like to hear a prophecy written just for you 1,000 years before you were born? That would for sure make you feel special, right? In the mystical corners of South India, a tradition has kept personalized life predictions tucked away on ancient palm leaves for centuries. Imagine opening a letter written by someone who knew your name, your family, your struggles, all of it, but they wrote the letter 1,000 years before you were born. You'd be blown away, right? Welcome to the world of Nadi astrology, where ancient sages with a suspiciously good Wi-Fi connection to the future documented destinies like cosmic stenographers. Unlike vague horoscopes that promise you'll meet a mysterious stranger who turns out to be your Uber driver, Nadi readings provide shockingly specific details about your life. And yes, they even come with solutions for your inevitable bad decisions. The real question is, how did these fragile little manuscripts outlive entire empires? While your gas receipt fades within a week, these leaves have been around for over 2,000 years. It's all thanks to high-level ancient preservation techniques. I'm talking citronella oil coatings, silk wrappings, and wooden boxes packed with neem leaves to keep bugs from munching on your cosmic to-do list. Despite wars, natural disasters, and people generally being terrible at keeping track of things, the leaves survived. Today they are stored in libraries across Tamil Nadu. You're undoubtedly wondering how to get your hands on your ancient, personalized life script. It's not as simple as browsing Amazon Prime. The process involves your thumbprint. Apparently, the sages had biometric security centuries before iPhones. It goes like this. First, you send in your thumbprint. It determines your leaf category. Next, trained readers go through ancient stacks of palm leaves to find the one meant for you. Once found, the leaf spills all the secrets, including your past life karma, your current mess, and what's waiting down the road. The accuracy is often uncannily on point. I mean, it's pretty shocking and really makes you wonder if ancient sages had crystal balls looking into the future, or perhaps something more scientific and less magical, but nonetheless ahead of its time. These ancient sages weren't just in the business of dropping truth bombs. They also left behind remedies to smooth out your karmic wrinkles. Think of it like a cosmic prescription, which would be so helpful, wouldn't it? Once your future is told, you receive instructions to chant certain mantras, like a cosmic Spotify playlist for better vibes. You are also told how to perform a special fire ceremony to fix everything, which cause you should donate to in order to boost your karma, and how to detox your soul. That all sounds kind of refreshing and cathartic. I wonder if they would have mine in there. I would like to take a peek at my own future. What about you? If you're intrigued, and honestly, how could you not be? You can get your own palm leaf reading and see what these ancient sages had to say about your life. Whether you're seeking guidance, curious about your past karma, or just want to prove the universe has a sense of humor, the experience is apparently unforgettable. What do you think? Should we do it? Going to the doctor in Egypt. All right, people, this part is not great for people with delicate sensibilities, so hope you're ready. I mean, it's just medical stuff, so it's not that gross. A papyrus has just been discovered with all kinds of insane medical knowledge scrawled on its pages. It was written around 1500 BC. But what makes the text so awesome is that it shows the Egyptians knew nearly as much as modern doctors when it came to things like pregnancy. And they didn't have our technology. Researchers have just translated these 3,500-year-old texts, and they have a lot to say. In ancient Egypt, a woman could tell if she was pregnant by doing the same thing women do today: take a urine test. Thousands of years ago, women could pee on a sack of barley to figure out whether they were pregnant or not. And it worked. The script says if the barley grows, it'll be a boy. If the emmer grows, it'll be a girl. And if nothing happens, you're probably not pregnant. This wasn't just some pyramid scheme dreamed up by a bored scribe in ancient times. It's real science. In 1963, researchers tested the method and proved it worked about 70% of the time. This type of test was actually done by women throughout history in lots of places, not just Egypt. High levels of estrogen in a pregnant woman's urine can stimulate plant growth. How in the world did Egyptian doctors know this? Were they giving TED Talks on hormone science? Besides this important knowledge on whether new life was coming into the world or not, ancient Egyptian medicine covered all kinds of areas. They had specialists for different ailments, treatments for eye diseases, and even surgeries. One recently translated papyrus revealed that Egyptians did know about kidneys too, despite previous scholars thinking otherwise. And if you had an eye infection, a good doctor might whip up a prescription featuring blood from a lizard, a bull, a female donkey, and a goat. Sounds like a recipe for a medieval smoothie, but hey, who are we to judge? Of course, a lot of Egyptian medicine was wrapped in religious and mythological beliefs. Demons and spirits were often blamed for illnesses, which means exorcising the infection was both a medical and spiritual practice. But some of their methods, like wound care, dentistry, and even surgical instruments, were way ahead of their time. The Egyptians were pulling off medical procedures that would impress modern doctors. But how did they know all this stuff so long ago? And I guess another important question is, why did people forget this information later on? A 20-million-year-old marvel. If there's one thing that consistently baffles archaeologists and scientists, it's ancient objects that seem wildly out of place, like a flip phone in a medieval painting, or a perfectly symmetrical iron cube inside a lump of coal that predates human civilization. Oddly specific? That's because it is. It's called the wolf's egg iron, also known as the Salzburg cube. It's a metallic anomaly that has puzzled researchers since its discovery in 1885. It all went down like this. A factory worker in Wolf's Egg, Austria, was minding his own business, breaking apart some coal, when out fell a small iron object. This wasn't just some random piece of industrial debris. It was a well-defined, oddly shaped iron cube, sealed within a lump of coal that was 20 million years old. I don't need to tell you that 20 million years ago, humans weren't around. The closest thing to civilization was a particularly social group of ancient primates, probably arguing over bananas. How did this weird metal artifact get lodged inside ancient coal? Great question. I'm glad you asked. Theories range from aliens to time-traveling blacksmiths, but what's the truth? In 1966, Dr. Kurat from the Natural History Museum in Vienna gave his professional verdict. He concluded the artifact to be made from cast iron. Okay, but how did it get inside the chunk of coal? If this object was indeed manufactured, then someone or something was forging iron long before our ancestors figured out how to rub two sticks together. Some researchers believe the object is proof that an intelligent society thrived on Earth millions of years ago. Maybe they were iron-wielding super beings who mysteriously disappeared. Maybe they were aliens who hung out for a bit, got bored, and flew away in their ships. Then again, maybe some future human went back to prehistoric times, dropped a machine component, and the wolf's egg iron is what remains. The least fun theory is that it's just a random artifact. Skeptics argue that the object was man-made and somehow got mixed up in ancient coal deposits through natural geological processes. Boring, but plausible. You would think an artifact this bizarre would be displayed in a high-tech museum under constant scientific scrutiny, but nope. After years of being shuffled around various institutions, the wolf's egg iron eventually went missing. Yeah, it's gone. Whether it was lost, stolen, or forgotten in a drawer somewhere remains unknown, but boy oh boy, is it ever suspicious. The healing powers of the Bosnian pyramids. What if you could find relief from depression and ailments simply by visiting an ancient site? Deep in the heart of Bosnia, in the quiet town of Visoko, stands a mountain that some believe hides one of the greatest secrets of human history. An ancient pyramid constructed by a technologically superior civilization. Dismissed by mainstream archaeologists but embraced by thousands of visitors, the so-called Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has become a hotspot for alternative researchers, spiritual seekers, and those who believe that our past holds more secrets than we've been led to believe. At first glance, the Visoko Hill looks like any other tree-covered slope, but in 2005, Samir Osmanagic, a businessman turned explorer, declared that it was an ancient pyramid. Unlike natural geological formations, Osmanagic pointed out that the structure has 4 precise triangular faces aligned with the cardinal directions, along with a complex network of underground tunnels. While conventional geologists and archaeologists dismiss these claims, Osmanagic has spent nearly 2 decades excavating and developing the site into an open-air laboratory for exploring lost ancient technology. Critics call it pseudoscience, believers call it proof. One of the biggest draws of the Bosnian pyramid complex is the claim that it emits powerful energy fields, a notion supported by both visitors' experiences and independent measurements. Weird, huh? Scientists measuring electromagnetic emissions have detected unusual frequencies coming from the top of the pyramid and inside the labyrinth-like tunnels beneath it. Some researchers claim this energy aligns with the Schumann resonance. What's that? The Schumann resonance is the set of resonant frequencies of the Earth ionosphere cavity. It's possible the pyramid is harnessing the very power of our planet. You can't really know how intense the feeling of electromagnetic emissions are until you're inside the pyramid's underground tunnels. Visitors report experiencing an array of physical benefits after spending time in the tunnels and chambers. From boosted immunity to relief from chronic illnesses, these effects have been described as everything from spiritual awakenings to scientific anomalies. Novak Djokovic is one of the world's greatest tennis players. He has also become one of the most high-profile believers in the Bosnian pyramid's unique energy. He has visited multiple times, calling it a paradise on Earth, and urging other athletes to experience the pyramid's effects. His visits have drawn massive attention, boosting tourism and reigniting debates about the site's authenticity. With thousands of visitors flocking to the mountain/pyramid every year, the complex has grown into a global phenomenon, regardless of whether mainstream science accepts it or not. The controversy surrounding the Bosnian pyramids taps into a larger question. How much do ordinary people know about our past? Osmanagic believes that history, as we've been taught, is incomplete. He says that ancient civilizations possess knowledge far beyond what mainstream scientists credit them for. If the Bosnian pyramids are truly remnants of lost technology, they could force a reevaluation of everything you thought you knew about human history. I'm wondering what the heck is emitting so much energy. Is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun an ancient energy device? I don't know. The only way to know for sure is to visit and feel the energy for yourself. What are you waiting for? The truth of anti-gravity technology. We are not alone. Whispers of extraterrestrial technology hidden in the Nevada desert have fascinated people for decades. But what happens when a high-ranking scientist with top-level security clearance breaks his silence? What happens when he gives up the secrets of anti-gravity technology on his deathbed? Let me talk to you about the late Boyd Bushman, a former senior scientist for Lockheed Martin.
His final revelations about aliens, UFOs, and anti-gravity technology have sent shockwaves through the scientific community and conspiracy circles alike. Boyd Bushman was no ordinary engineer. His career spanned over 40 years, working for major defense contractors like Hughes Aircraft, General Dynamics, Texas Instruments, and Lockheed Martin. He held numerous classified patents, many of which still remain shrouded in secrecy. As he approached his final days, he decided it was time to reveal the truth. In a video recorded just before his passing, Bushman detailed his first-hand experiences with classified programs at Area 51, the highly secretive military base long associated with UFOs. He didn't stop at mere speculation. He produced photographs, grainy yet compelling, of what he claimed were extraterrestrial beings recovered and studied at the facility. According to Bushman, two distinct groups of alien beings are under study at Area 51. These extraterrestrials, he claimed, originate from a planet 68 light-years away and possess technology far beyond human comprehension. Even more surprising, some of them allegedly work in cooperation with U.S. scientists. Bushman described these beings as roughly 5 feet tall, with humanoid features, elongated fingers, and an extraordinary lifespan far surpassing that of humans. Their method of communication is telepathy. According to Bushman, these beings don't need spoken words because they can project thoughts directly into a person's mind. Among the most shocking elements of Bushman's confession was his assertion that the U.S., China, and Russia are collaborating at Area 51 to reverse engineer alien technology, specifically anti-gravity propulsion systems. If true, this would mean that the technology to defy Earth's gravitational pull is already in human hands, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. Bushman claimed that these alien spacecraft can travel faster than the speed of light, bending space-time itself. The implications are staggering. If such technology exists, it could revolutionize transportation, energy, and space travel. But official agencies, including NASA, continue to downplay these possibilities. In 2014, NASA Administrator Charles Bolden confirmed the existence of Area 51, but denied any involvement with extraterrestrials or alien technology. This is all stuff that's happened pretty recently, but the situation does have a link to the past. It's been speculated that the ancient builders of the world had access to anti-gravity technology. How do you move a 100-pound stone? You change gravity so that it floats effortlessly into position. Duh! Could it be that aliens really did bring anti-gravity technology to our planet? Maybe they let the Egyptians borrow it to build the pyramids. Or they let the Tiwanaku civilization use the tech to build Pumapunku. Perhaps they were generous aliens who like to share. Whether you believe Bushman or not, his revelations add yet another layer to the mystery surrounding Area 51, alien technology, and our ancient ancestors. It could be that human scientists are on the brink of tumbling into a new era of space travel and limitless energy. While mainstream scientists continue to dismiss Bushman's claims as mere science fiction, you have to wonder why someone with such a distinguished career would lie on his deathbed. It makes more sense that his confession was the truth that he had been eager to get off his chest for years. Either way, it has reignited global curiosity about what truly lies behind the heavily guarded fences of Area 51.
Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
The Tarxian Temples. The Tarxian Temple Complex is a shocking example of ancient ingenuity. It's the biggest prehistoric complex on the island of Malta, and an official UNESCO World Heritage Site. The complex is made up of 4 distinct temples at the heart of the ancient village of Tarxian, located only a few hundred feet from the hypogeum. The complex was likely constructed between 3600 and 2500 BC. And while the temples here aren't the biggest or the most impressive from Malta's ancient past, the entirety of the site is something incredible. There are examples of prehistoric artwork everywhere. There were once statues erected throughout the complex. Most everything has been destroyed, but experts have still managed to piece the place's history together. It's believed the complex was used specifically for animal sacrifice. The prehistoric citizens of the island may have brought animals here and then sacrificed them on altars to feed their gods fresh blood. Archaeologists have found multiple altars, heaps of animal bones, and knives that may have been used in the killings. They even found some human remains at the South Temple. However, nobody knows if they were sacrifice victims or if the temple was briefly used as a burial pit in the Bronze Age. The Machu Picchu masterpiece. The ancient Inca sanctuary of Machu Picchu is a monument recognized by people all over the globe. But not everyone can appreciate the masterpiece of the sanctuary's construction. Even modern engineers consider it one of the greatest architectural achievements in human history. Machu Picchu was built on an extremely precarious ridge overlooking a river canyon. It was constructed in a seemingly inaccessible place, yet somehow managed to perfectly integrate with the landscape. The Inca built Machu Picchu as if it were an extension of the Andes Mountains. Rando Menegat, a geologist from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, believes the Inca built Machu Picchu intentionally at the site of where two tectonic faults meet. He says it isn't a coincidence that Machu Picchu is where it is. The Inca understood geology in a very advanced way. Rualdo believes they looked for a perfect place where tectonic faults clashed and where the substrate of the high mountains was fractured. The geologist backed up his claims using satellite imagery and field measurements. He created a map of intersecting fractures underneath the site, which show how the Inca built Machu Picchu in the best possible place. The Inca followed the matrix of fractures and faults in the mountain as they designed their neighborhoods. Everything from individual buildings to stairs were built out of the faults. This is how the stonework was so perfect. By using the network of faults and cracks, the Inca didn't just build a city, they molded their city out of the mountain itself. The Ziggurat of Ur. Some might say the Ziggurat of Ur is even more impressive than the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's much like an Egyptian pyramid, only built in Mesopotamia in 2100 BC. It is the largest and most well-preserved of all the Mesopotamian ziggurats. It is a pyramid, but tiered with large terraces and step staircases. Researchers think making their pyramids tiered helped the Mesopotamians in the building process, whereas the Egyptians made their pyramids smooth. There are many ziggurats scattered throughout the deserts of Iraq and Iran, but the Ziggurat of Ur really is the most amazing example of the ancient technology. Excavations occurred in the 1920s. There was a joint project between universities in America and Britain to reveal the monument in its entirety. When it was originally complete, the ziggurat stood at least 100 feet tall. 3 gigantic staircases led to a gate blocking the first terrace. Then a single staircase rose to the second terrace, and at the very top of the structure was a temple. It would have been something to behold upon completion, with the head priest flailing his hands way up at the top of the temple. In total, the ziggurat required about 720,000 baked bricks just for its foundation. The sheer magnitude of resources needed to build all of it is staggering. The temple at the top was commissioned by King Ur-Nammu and dedicated to Nana, god of the moon. Unfortunately, none of the temples has survived into the modern age. Archaeologists have found some blue glazed bricks, which may have been part of the decoration, but that's only speculation. And now for number 7. But first, it's shoutout time! I want to give a big thank you to Dominic, Kalika, and Leanne for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. The Bada Valley Megaliths. On the Indonesian island of Sulawesi is a mysterious place called the Bada Valley, hidden away within the Lor Lindu National Park. The park is an official UNESCO World Heritage Site, both because of its wildlife and the crazy monoliths that cover the valley floor. There are over 400 granite megaliths here, their mystery forever unsolved. These statues can only be compared to those of Easter Island. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you look at these things. Many of them are partially buried, eaten by the grassy fields. Some are short, while others tower 12 feet above the ground. Researchers don't know who built the megaliths, only that some appear to be around 7,000 years old. They were constructed by a completely unknown society at a time when civilization had barely gotten started. These megaliths were first documented by outside explorers in 1908. The faces of the statues have human features very similar to the sculptures on Easter Island. But because the culture that made them is long gone, there is no one around to explain what they were used for. Were these effigies of gods? Were they created in the likeness of tribal chiefs? The questions here are truly endless. Another big mystery is that archaeologists have not found any human settlements in the area around where the megaliths are. It doesn't even look like anyone lived here to build the monuments. Do you have any theories on how and why these megaliths exist? The Kilmartin Glen Standing Stones. On the western coast of Scotland is Kilmartin Glen, a very special and very unique place. Human history here stretches back 5,000 years. There may have been people during the Ice Age, and likely primitive Neanderthals many more years before that. But modern human history started here 5,000 years ago. Kilmartin Glen is dotted with about 350 ancient monuments. Roughly half are prehistoric, and most are within a few miles of Kilmartin village. Ancient burial cairns, standing stones, and unexplainable rock engravings. Taken all at once, the Bronze Age monuments and Neolithic burial grounds form a ritual landscape of baffling proportions. Researchers don't know what was going on here, only that people buried the dead and participated in ceremonies. One of the most impressive stone circles here is in Temple Wood. At the center of the woodland is a fairly small stone circle. These stones are not particularly tall, barely coming up to your ankles. In the middle of this stone circle is an ancient burial plot. It's magical to see the place in real life and wonder who was so important that they were buried in the heart of a stone circle. A tribal chief, a god, person of magic? Nobody knows whose remains once graced the burial pit. The gigantic warship Tessara Conteris was one of the largest and most impressive vessels in human history. The gigantic ancient warship has nothing to deal with megaliths or mysterious sites, but its technological sophistication is worth learning about. Sometime around the 3rd century BC, the Greeks took their naval supremacy to a whole new level. They began to build floating fortresses. Tessara Conteris was a class of battleship not much smaller than a modern aircraft carrier. Legend has it the monstrous beast of a ship was the brainchild of Egypt's Ptolemy IV Philopator. Ptolemy IV was the descendant of Ptolemy I, Alexander the Great's general who took Egypt for himself after Alexander's death. The king of Egypt requested a catamaran galley of biblical proportions. According to ancient sources like Athenaeus and Plutarch, or Calixenus of Rhodes, the ship was so massive it was an ineffective war machine. It was a prestige vessel that may have taken 6,000 men just to operate. It would have had tall towers, defensive walls like a castle, and over 150 oarsmen at least. There is no physical proof that this behemoth of a ship ever existed, but scholars seem to think it may have been real. It would have been used as a mobile city to cruise easily across the Mediterranean Sea. It would have even had a small palace on it to accommodate the king, or whoever was in charge of the boat. It's unclear what may have happened to it, or even how long it remained floating. The Borobudur Temple. On the Southeast Asian island of Java is the unbelievably impressive Borobudur Temple. It is said to be the largest Buddhist monument anywhere in the world. Some even say it should be considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's not as ancient as the Egyptian pyramids, but it is roughly 1,200 years old. The temple was built around the 9th century AD on a grassy hilltop overlooking the beautiful jungles of Indonesia. Its architecture is distinctly Indian, yet also uniquely Indonesian. It blends traditional styles with the influence of medieval India. The massive temple is decorated in almost 2,700 relief panels. It boasts over 500 Buddha statues and might just be unbreakable. The stonework of the temple, built long before many of the Inca's most impressive structures, was completed without cement or mortar. The builders of the temple cut their blocks just like pieces of a puzzle. They fit together and interlocked without needing any sort of adhesives. Even after 1,000 years of neglect, the temple is almost undamaged. Borobudur Temple was only found by modern explorers of 1815, completely buried under the ash of an unknown volcanic eruption. Realizing its importance in the 1970s, the Indonesian government partnered with UNESCO to restore the temple. It took 8 years, and now the temple looks as if the last stone was laid just yesterday. If you could pick just one ancient place to be restored to its former glory, which would you choose? Let me know in the comments below, and hit subscribe while you're at it. The Obelisk of Aksum. Among the ruins of the ancient city of Aksum, once home to the mighty Aksumite Empire, there is one of the most impressive obelisks ever built. The Obelisk of Aksum was constructed about 1,700 years ago by King Izana. It's an exceedingly massive monument that weighs over 160 tons and stands 79 feet tall. The brief Italian occupation of Ethiopia saw many national treasures stolen by the European occupiers. In the 1930s, the monolith of Aksum was stolen from the Ethiopians. Italian soldiers found it in a partially submerged pit. It was dismantled, then taken to Rome as a spoil of war. That's where it stayed for almost a century. There were talks of returning it over the years, but it would be a monumental task. The Italians weren't very cooperative either. It wasn't until 2008 that they finally gave the great monolith back. Now it stands in the city of its creation once again. Seeing the obelisk with your own eyes is a remarkable experience. It's truly enormous, towering over the much smaller obelisks in the ancient city. It's covered in beautiful designs and strange decorations. The craftsmanship was far ahead of its time. The graphite used to build the obelisk was transported from a quarry many miles away, which required tedious organization from the Aksumites. The obelisk alone shows just how technologically advanced the empire was before it fell into ruin. The Knowth Passage Tomb. 5,000 years ago, a mysterious group of humans in Ireland constructed the Knowth Megalithic Passage Tomb, also known simply as the Great Mound. The enormous tomb is in the Boyne Valley, surrounded by other, less impressive Neolithic constructions. The tomb consists of a single gigantic mound covering roughly a hectare of land. There are 2 passages that lead inside, each one leading to a different burial chamber. The eastern passage leads to what's known as a cruciform chamber. There are 3 recesses inside the chamber and some carved basins where cremated human remains may have once been placed. The western passage ends in a rectangular chamber that may have also been used for burying cremated remains. The burial chambers are wildly impressive, seeing as how old they are, but the site is so much more than just mysterious burial plots. The mound is surrounded by 127 curbstones, most of them decorated in stunning works of megalithic art. There are over 200 decorated stones here, maybe even more that have yet to be found. Knowth is a truly remarkable place that scientists are still struggling to understand. Nobody knows who was buried here or why they deserved such a magnificent tomb. The archaeological site is also mostly off-limits. There is no direct public access, and the only way to visit is with a scheduled tour. Stone Circles of Senegambia. In the Senegambia region of Gambia in Senegal, there are more megalithic complexes than any other part of the world. That sounds unbelievable, but it's true. There are 1,053 stone circles here and a total number of, get ready for it, 28,931 individual monoliths. This number includes individual carved stones found throughout various stone complexes and circles. It's absolutely crazy how many ancient monuments are scattered throughout this part of Africa. Not to mention the quality of the monuments. Experts say the stonework was done by an extremely sophisticated group of people. Many of these circles are also found near burial mounds, suggesting they were tied to complex religious rituals. But as with so much of the ancient world, nothing is truly known about these stone circles of Senegambia. Nobody knows what they were used for or why the ancients dedicated their lives to building countless monoliths. According to UNESCO World Heritage, analysis of the material shows the monoliths were built starting in the 3rd century BC. They continued to be erected up until the 16th century AD. Work went on here for almost 2 1,000 consecutive years. And yet now there is no trace of the people who did it or what their motives were. Thanks for watching! Which standing stones do you think are the most impressive? Have you seen any in real life? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and come back soon. Bye!